This next conversation is one that's very, very personal to me. This season in English football, online hate crime referred to police have quadrupled already. Peterborough United's Kira Rai has been open about the racist abuse she's received online. And I hope by having this kind of conversation, we can shine a light on the issue and help create change. I mean, this week, Kira, for me, has been probably one of the worst weeks of online abuse that I've received. Now, I've been wanting to get you on the show the last couple of weeks, like since, I heard your story and stuff, because I find it really relatable. Now, firstly, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I think it's been a tough few weeks. I think there's been a lot going on, and I think only just now it's kind of getting out that madness from it, and it's kind of like reflecting on it and kind of trying to like move forward and almost kind of know where to go next with it. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with it at the minute.
Let's talk about some of the on the pitch stuff before we get into the deep, heavy stuff, because I think it's important for people to know exactly what goes on, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm the type of person that shares that, it's not all about how great everything is, but how's the season been for you on the pitch so far?
So I joined Peterborough probably only about a month ago now, to be honest. Took a bit of a break. So I was out of the game for about 3 months. So I was at Derby County for 17 years, left them, recently joined Peterborough, and we've had a great start. We won, I want to say 6 out of 6 in the league, so top of the table. And then had our FA Cup game 2 weeks ago, beat Notts County. I think it was 5-1. So we're in good form, and I guess the goals promotion, I guess we're kind of on track for that, and that's where we're at really.
I met one of your teammates actually, Tara, at an
Oh
event
yeah, yeah.
not too long ago. Really nice
She's
person.
lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's great. And it was our very own Adrian Durham, actually, that's a diehard Peterborough United fan that was like, we've got to get you on. And, he loves that football club. Now, I want to just talk about, like, let's get into it, about how this type of abuse, and I'll share some stories that I have, but I want to make this about you. Like, how have you dealt with it personally, like the abuse? Like, and can you just talk us through, like, what was it like? So you get on your phone, just talk us through the thought like everything that happened kind of that particular day where you got the abuse that was more than others.
So obviously I just announced it was been announced my signing to Peterborough probably a month ago. And it was posted on a page called Browntown Rising, which is a page that is on Instagram that is purely there to showcase and highlight South Asian culture in football. So it's a celebratory page. It's all positive stuff. And so the page showcased me as a Punjabi player moving to Peterborough. And so I'm getting tagged in all these comments, which are positive. So I'm going to check them and like them and reply. And then the more I'm checking them, the more I'm seeing like negative, racially fueled comments. And I think at first it didn't really hit me. It's only after a few days I really went back to it and read it and thought, this isn't okay. And then after showing like a few of my teammates and other girls in the games, they were like, Kira, this is crazy. Like this isn't acceptable. And I think probably the more you read it, the more you think, no, this isn't right. And I think for me, I feel like as a footballer, as a female in the game, well, I always like to showcase the positives, the highlights of football and always show like the good stuff. And for me, if I ignored this, it would be pretty selfish, I think, because for me, I feel like I have a responsibility as one of very few South Asians in football. For me, if I'm not going to showcase a negative, it's quite selfish, quite self-serving for me. I have that responsibility to show these people what's actually going on in football. And I think sometimes, especially in women's football, we perhaps think the abuse isn't as bad. It's different to men's football. It's probably a bit of a nicer environment, which it is to an extent, but these things still happen. Like, and I'm sure you're aware of this as well. Of course, receiving abuse yourself, it's we have that responsibility to then actually showcase it, to bring awareness to it, to make sure things actually happen. Because if we sit and ignore it, you're almost accepting it. And for me, I can't accept this behavior from anyone.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well because the fact that I get constantly told, don't listen to them, rise above it, block them out. And I'm not going anywhere. And I say this all the time, but there are days where it's harder than others. This week, after being on Sky, like the amount of abuse I got from my appearance, the homophobia, it was like also transphobia. It was so bad. Like, and it affected my family this week as well. And I don't think people realize that. But I think for you, you really did show those haters and those nasty, awful, disgraceful people because then you go out and you score a 5 minute hat trick. Like, what was your thought process like, during that time? Are you like, because I don't know about you, but I just kind of think I'm not going to go and show them. I don't need to show anyone anything. I love who I am. I love my culture. I love where I'm from. I love how I am. So I'm not going to allow
Yeah.
it to affect me. But how did you deal with that? And like, you did show them, didn't you?
No, I agree. Like you said, you don't have to prove anything. Like I've made my way into football, you've made your way into football because of what you are, what you do. That for me is enough. I don't have to go and prove to anyone that I belong in football. But for me, I think after such a hectic week, it was for me like I'm here to play football. That's all I want to do. That's all I joined Peterborough for. And to go and get a well, it actually wasn't a 5 minute hat trick, I'll tell you. It was actually 2 minutes 56.
Ooh,
I
thanks for
know.
correcting me. That must be like a
Crazy. No,
world
everyone put
record.
it as 5 minutes. Yeah.
Why did they do that then?
I don't know. It got released as a 5 minute hat trick, but it was actually
Oh,
2:56.
we'll be making sure I'll be saying 2 minutes 56, 100%.
I'll
I mean,
claim
that's
that
got to
one.
be some type of world record.
That was, I honestly, it was a real surreal moment. I honestly don't know how I did it. It was crazy.
Well, you did. Well done to you. And it's like, at the Euros, I don't know about you, but obviously we saw the stuff, the horrific stuff with Jess Carter. We've spoken about it on the show. Like, I've been to House of Parliament, House of Commons, I've been trying to fight this for years. Like me and Anton Ferdinand, we've gone for meetings with like, social
Mhm.
media companies. Like, the thing for me that I thought was kind of interesting about the Jess Carter stuff, firstly, it was disgusting, but like it was the shock. Didn't you find the fact that everybody else that's not from kind of a minority were quite shocked? And I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not shocked.
No, I had the exact same. So when I posted mine, so the people from like, for example, like a South Asian background or a minority background, they weren't shocked, they weren't surprised, they were disappointed, angry, frustrated, but they weren't shocked. So all the girls that I played with in this leagues and other leagues were mainly from a white British background. They were absolutely shocked. And I think that contrast, I think that says everything. I think we've probably not become numb to it, but almost
We
become
have
numb to it to an
desensitized.
extent. And it's probably not the right thing to do, but what can you really do? And I think, like you said, the only way we are going to change it is if you bring awareness and to kind of you have to shock people to get change. But
Mm.
it's like then you can't keep saying silent and but it's how many times can we bring up the same thing without anything actually happening?
I know that's the kind of issues I have because it's like, what do you think what more can be done to kind of protect the players and the welfare? Because for me, I've been saying it for years. I believe you should have to give online identity. You should have to give a passport. You have to open up a bank account. If I'm buying a house, I have to give
Hmm.
ID.
No,
And
I
I don't
agree.
need to be
Yeah.
anonymous because everything I stand and say, I stand by. So
Hmm.
the fact that people can hide behind their computer screens, their phones, they can say whatever they want to you and they can get to you. That's why I'm a big advocate for having to give ID. People can say, invasion of privacy. I mean, you only have to talk on your phone now and you're getting adverts about curtains. You know what I mean? Like, so what do they think? What do you think? And I don't know why I use curtains as an example, but like what more can be done, do you think, to protect the players?
No, I completely agree. I think people sometimes say it's only online abuse, it's only online, but at the end of the day, there's a person sat behind that keyboard typing these things. So it's not just online, there's actually a human being behind it. And I think I completely agree. It should be some form of ID, some form of accountability. If you're going to make these comments, there has to be accountability with that. And I think, like, at the end of the day, football's a reflection of society, and these issues are only getting worse in society. So I feel like for me, football has to get ahead of that and almost step in and do these things now before it gets really, really, really bad.
Yeah, because you're right there. That's a really good point you make because it is becoming a societal problem. People
Hmm.
like you and I have dealt with kind of racism our whole life. It just gets magnified when you get onto the football pitch. Luckily
Hmm.
for me, though, I never really received abuse as a player because
Hmm.
I only retired like 6 years ago, but it wasn't such a substantial thing like online and the abuse. But I think, when it comes to like there's been multiple arrests, but no one's been charged yet. Do you think there's like enough deterrent for people that are committing these crimes? Because I do like the fact that people now can find the IP address, they can find these people. But then there was a time last year, I think it was a couple of years ago, when Wilfred Zaha was being racially abused and they found him and then they said it was this 11-year-old kid. Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's one of those ones. It's like, do you think there's enough kind of deterrent? Because I agree with you, it hasn't got better. People
Yeah.
are kidding themselves. Come and look at my phone. Come and look at your phone,
Yeah.
and we'll see if it's got better.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think at the end of the day, it has to be a multi-dimensional like target. Like, for example, with that, if it's 11-year-old kids, then we have to do more education in schools. You have to target in every single area. It's not just a one case that's going to solve everything. It's not that simple. And I think, like we said, like football and these social media organizations and the police, they all got to come together almost to all be on the same page and all create a new strategy because it's coming from all angles and it's how is it going to go away if we're not actually doing it? Almost just we're just covering it and it's how long are we going to keep covering it until what?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about like what more could be done? Because for me, like to be honest, I have a lot of support, with regards to companies that I work for. They reach out to me, but it's almost like they don't reach out until they really see the amount of abuse that I get because I just kind of get on with it. And
Hmm.
you're like you say, you become desensitized to it. But like, what do you think about all these campaigns that kind of come out? They're kind of, for me, it's a bit like smoke and mirrors.
No, for me, I agree with you. Like, for me, I'll be honest, in this process, it was a hard process. The organizations you've got Kick It Out, Show Race and Red Card, they put on all these initiatives, they do all these gestures. But for me, as a footballer, a player going through this, I haven't heard from anyone. And for me, to have no support from these organizations, for me, it's like if you're not going to be there to support a player that's going through something like this, what's the point? For me, these gestures are pointless, are empty if you aren't going to put things in place to help the players that are going through things. So for me, these people need to look at themselves and have these uncomfortable conversations. People like me, yourself, anyone who else is willing to talk, listen, but then actually be willing to make that meaningful change. Don't just listen and say, we've had the conversation, tick it off, done. We spoke to this person, but then it's like, okay, we're going to speak to this person and then we're going to put X, Y, Z in place. Because I think that's perhaps where we're lacking. I think people now are more willing to have these conversations, but then they don't really want to do anything with that information.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I hate the phrase ticking a box because that's what people love to try and tell me online. I think they're being offensive. They either call me Anthony that used to be at Man United or they think I'm a tick box exercise. And I'm thinking, okay, if you think that's offensive, then carry on. But I think the problem I have is I see the same people in these rooms. I go to these events and I'm like, if you are still in this room for 20 years and there hasn't
Hmm.
been change, you're part of the problem. Because,
Yeah.
there's all these initiatives that are out there and some of them are good. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say all of them are bad.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are just at the end of their tether because we're like, we're not going to eradicate racism, but what we can do is offer that support. Now, Kira, I can honestly say, like, I am there for you. Like, whatever you need, I know we don't know each other, but whatever you need, like, I'll do everything I can to give you that support because I know that when you're on your own and you have support, you have your family, you have your partners and significant others, but you're the only one that puts your head on the pillow at night. Do you understand what I mean? And you can't unsee something. So people can say, rise above it. But there's been moments this week where I thought, oh, I don't know how much more I can take of this.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I can't handle this anymore. Like, there's moments
Yeah.
where I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop. Like, what type of toll has this taken on you, on and off the pitch?
Mentally, it has been draining. It is a lot. I think it's a lot for anyone to go through. Because at the end of the day, like I am just football. I just want to play football. I've just signed for a new club. I just want to get on with it. I just want to. I'm here to win the league, basically. That's all I kind of want to focus on. But then to have my focus completely taken away and having to deal with all of these other issues, you're not really prepared for it, I guess. Like I don't know how to deal with it. There is not a right way to deal with it. But for me, I think it's that lack of support from these sort of organizations that has been disappointing for me. I will say so. I think women's football have been amazing for me. Like, I think it's really highlighted the power of community in women's football. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but so we play in the FAWNL. So we did a whole campaign where all teams before the games last Sunday came together and did a post to stand up for racism, and they all kind of stood with me and did it like for me and for the abuse that I suffered. And I think that to me was really special. And I think the FAW now, credit to them, they've been amazing. They're willing to have those conversations, willing to talk to me and say, all right, Kira, what do you think we can do better? Or what do you think you need or support like that? So for me, that's been really amazing. And I guess that's the kind of bit you've got to latch onto and think, as much as this has probably been one of the most disgusting, worst moments of my career, in a sense, having that community, having women's football kind of stand with me and having Peterborough United stand with me as a new club is kind of turned into one of the best moments of my career. Going into the Sunday, winning that game, getting a hat trick, and it's almost like that's how special football can be. And it's like, okay, so can we actually work together and actually create meaningful change? And I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's almost how do we flip this negative into a positive? But for that, you need the right people to listen to you.
Yeah, I mean, I love your outlook. I love your positivity in such a, dark moments where people like us get constantly abused and those types of things. It's an absolute disgrace. But honestly, Kira, like anything you need, I'm here, and we have to keep fighting the good fight. We can't
Hmm.
go quiet. There are times where I
Yeah.
think I want to go quiet. There's times where I think, do I want to do that show again? Because I don't want the abuse. But trust me, I'll be back on that show in a couple of weeks. The same as you'll be back on that football pitch. You're back on that football pitch the next game, banging in a hat trick. But it's important for people like us to stick together. So thank you so much for coming on my show. Thanks for sharing your story. and let's keep fighting a good fight.
Thank you.